robotic. Yeah, it's robotic. Yeah. You'll get used to them, do it after a while, and just it's stitching. Stitching. Yeah, it's digital. You guys get used to them after a while. That's what we have.
You know, because I wear the earpiece, and in 1 minute somebody's screaming in my ear, and the next minute I can barely hear something. That's ridiculous. I'm constantly adjusting the volume.
Oh man.
So this is what you sent me February. And it includes the vacation, right? Are you reading this book? What about this $4,000?
Just outside as much as I could, that was it.
And why did the life insurance go up? Why did the life insurance go up so much? It was like $250 versus.
Yeah, it was totally different, a different company.
I just don't know what that $4,809. And it shows up on the spreadsheet that you gave in February. And this is the salary. And then,
Seriously, you got it.
So the kid decided to hunt muscle?
So he says.
Okay.
That's what I hear. 19.
Printed that. Don't have it. Yep.
Hello, Mr. Weissel. How are you?
Hi, Brad.
Larry, you quiet tonight?
Yes, I am.
Tired?
It's been a long day already. I'm doing plumbing work on the outside.
Did you block me on Facebook too?
I don't block anybody.
Because your name didn't show up on the wall.
Oh,
But it showed up in somebody else's one. I don't know why. Why
it
did-
showed up on somewhere. Somebody else's? No. Hey, whatever. I'll be honest. My Facebook, when I post, I don't beg. When I post is what I mean out there, so I don't know why I would block anyone. You're gonna take a copy of your post and book bag and
You have Zoom on your computer also? No. Lucius or Fernandez on yet? Juan is, Liz isn't?
We need rolly chairs.
This is. He took. Yeah. You know, yeah. he never sends me in.
I honestly wish you would just go pending. Happy 37th.
What's that?
Happy 37th.
Living the dream.
Question is, you want something else?
Elizabeth and Juan, that's it.
They're both on?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we can start.
Camera.
Star 6-7?
Is the camera on?
Yeah.
Star 6-7. No, it wasn't.
Star
No.
6. I think there's not a light on
It says we're still on the call.
The host would like you to unmute your microphone. You can press star 6 to unmute.
There we go.
You are unmuted.
Juan, you on?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Then we're recording, Brandon?
Yep.
Video also, I don't see a red light.
You got it.
There you go.
Okay. All right, if you rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you all for coming. Note the absence of Paul Goldrick. And I need a motion to approve the minutes of all of these. Okay. Special board meeting minutes of October 14th, 2020. Regular minute meetings of October 14th, 2020. The Transportation Negotiations Committee meeting minutes of October 15th, 2020. BEA Negotiations Committee meeting minutes of October 15th, 2020. The Transportation Negotiations Committee meeting minutes of October 22nd, 2020. BEA Negotiations Committee meeting minutes of October 22nd, 2020. Special Board meeting minutes of October 26th, 2020. The Personnel Committee meeting minutes of October 29th, 2020. Transportation Negotiation Committee meeting minutes of November 2nd, 2020, and the Special Board meeting minutes of November 4th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Weissel,
Yes?
Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
and Herman.
Yes.
Motion carried.
I need a motion to approve executive session minutes of the Special Board meeting minutes of October 14th, 2020, regular meeting executive session minutes of October 14th, 2020, Transportation Negotiations Executive Session Committee meeting minutes of October 15th, 2020, BEA Negotiations Executive Committee meeting minutes of October 15th, 2020, Transportation Negotiations Executive Session Committee meeting minutes of October 22nd, 2020, BEA Negotiations Executive Committee meeting minutes of October 22nd, 2020, The special board meeting executive session minutes of October 26, 2020. Transportation negotiations executive session committee meeting minutes of November 2nd, 2020. And the special board meeting executive session minutes of November 4th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Weissel,
Yes.
motion carried.
I need, any questions on the November 2020 expenses?
Jimbo's look good though.
I mean,
Jimbo's? The catering?
oh, Jim, yeah, that was.
It's good.
Jim Booze.
Jim Booze.
Good stuff.
All right, I need a motion to approve the November 2020 expenses as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Weissel,
Yes.
Duchess,
Yes.
motion carried.
And looks like you're up, Mike.
All right. Balance in the super now account at First Community at the end of the month was $2,394,003.65. There were outstanding checks of $23,880.20. A couple payroll expense adjustments that carried over into November of $19,634.87, leaving the adjusted bank balance at $2,350,488.58. Lunch program balance $51,9250. Impressed fund $5,000, giving the total balance at $2,360,681.08. The investment balances were $12,286,735.07, leaving the balance of all funds as of 10/31 at $14,647,416.15. October receipts were $770,567.98. Expenses $3,072,437.70. Individual fund balances: education fund $6,678,942.72. Building fund $2,904,893.56. Bond and interest -$85,936.51. Transportation $1,786,994.21. IMRF $227,953.31. Working cash $2,510,069.49. Tort fund balance $160,750.48, and life safety $463,748.89. Interest earned in October was $1905.42. The state had several distributions in October. State aid $170,848 on the nose. Title IV $2,500. Title I $76,690. Special ed private facility $20,895.67. Regular transportation $58,612.90. Special ed transportation $60,334.05. And a special grant for special ed was received for $110,208.46. We had real estate distribution number 8 for $194,585.13. Rest of those fund balances are in your packet.
Any questions for Mr. Peters? I need a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Pappas,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes?
Weissel,
Yes.
Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, Mrs. Belt.
Hello again. I Ashley Belt, 1021 East Eagle Lake Road. I'm just requesting, if possible, I've noticed we haven't had a finance committee meeting since we started getting all these lawyer bills, and I really think that's something that should be scheduled pretty soon for that committee to kind of go over and maybe make a recommendation to search out another firm since we are getting outrageous bills from them over and over again. Nobody said what it was this month, so hopefully it's not outrageous again, but I just think that would be good for the community if you guys were looking at it and being concerned about it also, or showing that you were by having a committee meeting. That's all.
Thank you. Mrs. Diachinko.
So I didn't say anything last month, and I wasn't going to, but then we got these like 150 pages of emails that were FOIA, because we can FOIA board members, not the general public, as the law firm was asked to do. And so there's just some clarity, because I believe Mrs. Duchess and Mrs. Weissel, there's some things that you were saying that are not quite exactly the way your emails have stated. So I just wanted to clarify that, because a number of the parents are being called out. And I don't like saying that I'm doing something I'm not. So first, on May 2nd, or May 20th, I apologize, this really bothers a number of us, is that there was an email sent from Liz to Carla discussing quorum. They didn't know what quorum was. And so after 1 and 3 years, that's disturbing, that you don't understand that quorum is 4 of 7 sitting board members on this board that's here to meet. What was even worse, you can Google that. Didn't have to pay $185. You could have Googled it, because I did. Is that in that same email it states that you guys didn't know what 2.220 meant in reference to the quorum, but didn't think it was very clear about proceeding with a meeting without quorum. Why are discussions being had where people want to hold a meeting without quorum? You're eliminating 3 or more of your own board members from that conversation. So this isn't a makeup, no one's colluding. This is a literal email that they got. So that concerns me as a community member, that there are board members planning meetings without a quorum. That's a problem. Continuing on more FOIAs, and we just keep getting more every month, it's fantastic reading, is that a lot of these emails, there is blind carbon copies, where 2 board members will email each other and blind carbon copy 2, 3, or 4 of the board members. BCC, my juniors and freshmen know this. That means you're blind carboning other people, so the initial recipient doesn't know that other people are on this email. That's shady. I'm sorry, that's, as my students would say, that is just shady and dirty. We don't hide things from other people you're supposed to be on a board with. That doesn't call for transparency, that's not working as a team, and that is also a board meeting, because there were 5. So when you found out what quorum was, you should have known that when you hit the number 3, that's a committee, 4 is a board meeting. And these emails from May 29th, May 30th, June 1st, June 2nd, I can keep going, that's a chain of events because they all happened instantaneously in emails. There's discussion of the personnel committee, but I did not see Mr. Mazurek on a single email. That's disturbing that committee members aren't on personnel emails and personnel is being discussed. That's like taking, your accountant out of your taxes. That's just not appropriate. Neither was Mrs. Pappas. So I again want to know why there's 5 board members having a personnel discussion in detail about contracts, about board policy, a letter that was 2.5 email pages long, discussing board events, but there was no board meeting on May 29th or May 30th, but there was an email, and that should have been public knowledge, or it should just not have been a conversation in an email. But what even is worse, Mrs. Duchess, is that all of these conversations, every single meeting, May, June, July, August, September, October, you have grilled our administrators about COVID and what are they doing to address COVID and asking the same question. But they keep sending emails and letters and voicemails telling all of us what they're doing in the buildings, and you don't seem to know that. And as a parent, how do you not know the plans in place for your school, for our kids, our staff, your own children that go here, but you don't seem to know those emails? What are you reading? Because people that don't have high schoolers knew the high school email. People who don't have elementary kids knew the high school email, the elementary email. So as a board member, why are you not reading the communication coming out from the district you represent to the community about a pandemic and what they're doing to keep the kids safe. But on these emails, there's a lot of other conversations being had, and there's 150 pages of these kind of conversations that just shouldn't be happening, especially when you're eliminating people from the table and having that conversation. That doesn't tell me you're working as a team, and so historically, sorry, it's just really disturbing. And if you're going to say we're doing something, then the whole truth needs to be said. And so this is the whole truth. This is what's in your own emails. So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Cox, are you ready for your report?
I am. I just want to touch on a couple of topics that we've been spending quite a bit of time on recently. We'll also talk a little bit later when we talk about our reopening plan. But one of the things that we are looking at doing differently is in the second semester what our afternoons look like, right? So our afternoons currently are the students are doing work. A lot of the work is on their own. We're having difficulty getting the level of engagement that we really want and need out of our students in that additional 90 minutes. And so we're looking at a variety of ways to do that differently, to allow our students to have more structure, to be more productive, to have a better learning environment. And so we would like to, if we are going to make any changes, we'd like for that to be done and publicized, advertised by the first week in December, so everybody can have 4 or 5 weeks to to understand and work through the changes. So a lot of this kind of goes hand in hand with the fact that some of our remote learners are not engaging to the level that they need to. So it kind of flows from fourth quarter. So if you stop and think about the world of, we're not talking specifically about high school. High school is more credit-based. But if you're talking about 8th grade and below, all of our retention policies are based on having failing grades in multiple quarters, right? And so even though we had some students who might have failed fourth quarter in a particular class, they were still promoted because that's how our retention policies work. So unfortunately, we have some students in our community that thought, well, this in the fourth quarter environment, I didn't get the level of completion that I really should have, but I still got promoted. So, and now this looks a lot like the then, and so we're doing a lot to try to communicate to all of our students and parents that this year is different. This year the expectations are there, and obviously we have a ton of supports, and we will help work with any child anywhere in any way that we possibly can. But we need all of our students to understand that they do need to put forth the effort. They do need to be engaged in their education. And so one of the things that we're doing right now is reaching out to, because historically first quarter is going to be when kids are going to get their best grades, right? Because a lot of it is review, not as much new material. And so if we have kids that are getting D's and F's in the first quarter, those are huge red flags. So we're having individual conversations. We're making individual contacts so that every student, so that every parent understands that exactly what the expectation is. We're definitely not going to kick this can down the road and now all of a sudden it's the end of January and kids and parents are going, what do you mean I'm on the borderline here of being retained? Having these conversations early and often, that way everybody understands what the expectations are.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Cox,
Yep.
I have some questions. What about afternoon engagement, now here in Q2? Hearing that there's some concerns and a level that may be going down in terms of engagement, what could we be doing or looking at now to make sure or to think about transitioning into what that second semester or second half of the year looks like?
Well, I mean,
So to make some of those changes earlier.
Yeah, currently, we are already reaching out on an individual basis, following up, having conversations with students and parents when we recognize that those students aren't being as successful, and that's something that we're already doing. Actually had a meeting with the Teacher Association today to continue to have to brainstorm and to talk about exactly what modifications we might continue to make to create a more successful structured environment for second semester.
So you don't anticipate any changes then, I'm hearing, between now and the end of first semester for, the current engaged group?
There will be no significant changes. Those things take time. We have to make sure that we communicate and give people plenty of time to implement them correctly.
It's definitely an ongoing thing.
It is.
Yeah. Can you speak to so that we understand what's the level of engagement of, teachers, especially teachers and the aides and the whole team of professionals that support our students, now, as well as continuing to keep them engaged?
Right. So it looks different. It will look different in different buildings, in different specific programs. However, teachers have the 90 minutes of contact time that they're available in the afternoons. We refer to those a lot of times as office hours. That will allow students to be able to check in. As you know, the majority of our students have a more self-guided workload in the afternoon, but if they need help, they can check in. And then also, a lot of our teachers and teaching assistants have very clearly defined specific caseloads where they reach out to those specific students either daily or weekly, depending on what the need is.
Yeah, what about an alternative to think about that office hour time to use for other group activity or alternative schedules there? Is that something the team's thought about yet?
Yeah, and so that's what the conversation is, because those office hours, that 90 minutes, that's what gets us to the 300 clock minutes of instruction. And so if we do modify our afternoon schedule, it will specifically be in that time slot and with those resources.
But you're not going to change that until after the first of the year, correct? Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. I feel that there's some needs now that maybe if we could take some more proactive transitioning, or maybe think about alternative ways of doing things, maybe a few times a week or maybe at least once a week. So it would beg the team to maybe consider some of those options sooner rather than later.
What are you referring to specifically?
I think that's for the team to define what's better, but to look at some of those alternative afternoon arrangements and think about, what our students need and how maybe they could work with them.
Mr. Schiss, I can assure you that they're constantly thinking of that. That's something that, we kind of put in the hands of our superintendent and our administration and then our teachers. They are not letting a day go by that they're not trying to think of any alternative options that could help their remote learners or their in-class students or their afternoon learners. So I think that goes without saying that you don't have to tell them to do that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they didn't, so definitely appreciate all that work today. I think that maybe some more structure might be helpful for them to consider as we move toward second semester. Thank you.
Mr. Cox, I just want to say your team administrators, principals, you guys are all doing great. Continue doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. Thank you guys all.
I have a question, Mr. Cox, I have a question. So last meeting, Mr. Mazurik asked you about getting all those bids for all the facilities, and you brought one of the concrete bid, and then we're supposed to vote bid on it, and it came back to committee. Are we getting these bids? Because there's a lot of like scuffle out there about AC. Well, how long are we gonna wait for this bid for AC? It's been before COVID.
Yeah, so I believe that that's been kicked back to committee, and so my anticipation, and obviously this is in Juan's hands, but my anticipation is that sometime in November, we would have a building and grounds committee to continue those conversations.
I thought that you were gonna have a facilities meeting after you brought back some more bids. There's nothing really to discuss.
I believe that if you asked the question, if it was kicked back to committee, that would go back to Mr. Hernandez.
Juan.
So Mr. Hernandez needs to set that committee meeting up. And then all of us that are on the committee and facilities, we can get it going. I mean, that's my understanding from the email I got. That's the email I got.
And we will be setting that meeting soon. We just got all that information with the packet, so.
The only thing that was in there was that concrete, right? And then snow removal.
Thank you, Juan. Mrs. Black.
I know I have presented my report. Mrs. Duchess, I just wanted to speak for a second to your concerns and questions. Last week I met with each one of my individual grade levels. K1, 2 have adjusted what they're doing in the second quarter as far as meeting the needs of their remote learners. Meeting with students either individually or in small groups every day. And then 3, 4, 5, we have changed what that looks like to not only just reach out to the remote learners, but any of the students who are struggling. So please know that we are always making plans and talking and finding how we can best meet the needs of all the students. Did anyone else have any questions?
Thanks for sharing that.
Yep. Did anyone else have any questions about things in my report?
Halloween was great. Thank you for making that happen.
Halloween was great.
Yes. For Jake's last one, I'm so glad we got to watch the parade, and he had a wonderful day.
Yes, I'm glad, and the weather was beautiful.
It was.
So that was nice. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Meyer.
I expect big things from you, Mr. Meyer.
That's next. I'm in the middle, so I'm just glad I'm in front of Mr. Gahan tonight. So that's what's important. No, you've got my written report as well. I just want to touch on the IESA has allowed us to have contact days, so we're trying to get back to normal in some sense, so we're not having practice, but you can do skill development. You can do certain things like that. Still have to wear masks. We're following the IDPH, but it's just at least we're getting kind of back into the routine. Who knows what's going to happen in the big picture? Basketball starts possibly January 4th. Volleyball starts possibly January 11th. But we do have good numbers. We have 28 girls right now signed up for volleyball. The contact stuff, we have 29 boys for basketball, and then we have 14 girls basketball players. So the numbers are out there, so it's just, again, we're trying to at least have something besides school that these kids can look forward to. Hopefully things go well, and I just want to say that thank you for allowing that, and who knows what's going to happen. We've got some time. Maybe those sports will continue, and maybe they won't, but that's what I have. Just want to give you an update on it. A little something from the IESA. I think IHSA is probably going to come up with something before us, so.
Any questions for Mr. Meyer?
Great job.
Thank you.
You guys didn't see Mr. Meyer has amazing shoes today.
Yeah, I did notice.
See?
That's it.
You're right.
Very white soles.
You have my board report like all the others. I will say that I sent an email out today to the families of the high school, I guess, and I'm looking for names of veterans Even though we don't have school on Wednesday, I'm hoping that our program allows me to put out there. I have 32 slides so far of veterans who live in the community or are related to our students. So on the 11th, there'll be a thing saying thanks to our veterans, and there will be 32 slides with just names out there of people who currently either are in or have served our country. So if you know anybody, please feel free to send me an email and I'll put it on there.
Very good, thank you.
Beyond that, you have my lackluster report compared to Mr. Meyer, but we have it nonetheless.
No, it's just a list this morning. He had like another paragraph, you did.
He had another paragraph and I didn't? Because he's better.
Yeah.
I think that was just a carryover from last time.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Good cover.
He is an overachiever. Anything else?
Any questions for Mr. Gale?
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you.
All right, I assume we've covered the reopening.
Actually, I wanted to touch on just at least one other thing during the reopening plan. I know that everything is spiking right now. Trust me, I get it. The rolling Will County average, I think is almost 15% right now. When we continue to engage and be guided by the Will County Health Department, they're doing great work. They're being very engaging. And one of the things that they continue to tell us is the most important metric that you need to be looking at is your own data, what's happening in your schools. If you think that there's any question at all that your schools might be acting as spreaders, then you need to make sure that obviously that we're contacting them, but also that we're closing down and mitigating and doing a lot of different things. As we continue to move through this, here we are, whatever it is, 10 or 12 weeks in, and our schools, the on-campus part of it, we have no data that says that our campus is acting as a significant spreader of any kind. I'm actually cautiously optimistic that with all of the masking and hand washing and hand sanitizer by the gallon, I'm actually cautiously optimistic that we're going to have the best flu season that we've ever had. Just because everybody's taking germs so seriously, and so we will continue to use that metric, and as soon as if by some chance we do think that we even have a hint that we might be spreading and causing that, then we will be changing immediately. There have been a few schools here recently that have had an in-person component and have gone all remote. And let's be honest, if you're doing that based on the external metrics, there's a good chance you're not going to be back in session for a long time, because it doesn't look like it's going to get better for quite a while. We had some great news today with the vaccine, but that's still months and months and months away. So, we continue to, thank God for our two very hardworking, very conscientious nurses that we have. Angie and Mary Kay are doing an amazing job, and we all continue to put students' safety at the top of this conversation. So, just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that, yes, we were very aware of the numbers that they're spiking, but also wanted to translate what our directives are from Will County and how that thought process is working through.
The right-of-way, I spoke with you, Mr. Cox, and Marla a while back. The village was putting in the quiet zone. I understand there's only 5 blocks over on the west side of the tracks there. But the one kid crossing with a quiet zone, kids wear earphones, earbuds, whatever it may be. There still has not, I have still not, and I sit on the transportation committee and I sit back and I watch a lot of this stuff and I get no response back. It's like you hear us, but nobody ever addresses it. We addressed it. I have still not heard anything back about that. The village is ready for their quiet zone. There's kids who are going to come across those tracks. I've asked for it several months ago, and nothing about it. And when I ask a question, as a board member, I don't want to come off here snippy, but I do want answers. And I still didn't get them.
Yep, we'll definitely look into that
And then
get back to you.
also, Marla, I spoke with you about this, and I spoke with that. I was, like I said from the last meeting, I was upset with my name being all over a billing. So moving forward, it's supposed to be the board member that is requesting legal instead of the person that, from the motion, because it makes it look like that I'm the one asking the legal questions. I'm pretty smart, and I can look up most of the stuff on my own. So I just want to go from there, moving forward, that whoever's using legal, your name's going to be attached to it. Done.
Thank you, Ron.
You're welcome.
Ron, did you say the quiet zone's being implemented?
Yes, quiet zone is, they're
Is it
finishing up
already
soon, but again.
It hasn't started yet.
They're starting, the village just put out their thing, it's right on there if you look on the village website. But one kid crossing those tracks is one too many. And there's no bus service on that side. I understand it's 4 blocks, but it continues going west out into the country where we have students too.
Because you brought this to committee like 6 months ago. or something.
Yeah, it was several months ago, yes. It was several months ago, yes. All right, Mr. Cox, if you can look into that, please. Of course.
All right, we'll move to committee reports. We'll delay negotiations committee until the executive session. Personnel, Julie, would you?
So back in August, we began the discussion about, well, actually, I didn't mention, just throwing it out there before, but we officially started discussing transportation coordinator in August, where we looked at several options and what that would mean for the district. Transportation is a huge department that has fallen completely on Marla's shoulders and also Mr. Cox's, but it's now a need that we need a transportation supervisor. So in the last meeting that we had, Mr. Cox and Marla brought to us a job description, which we went over as a committee, and we were happy with the way that it looked. And there's also financial projections for that and what the day might look like, whether it's a 6 or 8 hour day that's in the packet. Yeah, and we can, discuss that in executive session. But everything's been set up, what that looks like for benefits, whatnot, and it's a great need. So if anybody has any questions, or Mr. Cox, you'd like to add to that?
Julie, I saw it where it came out. In the 6 hour shift, it was 9 to 3.
Yes.
I'm very concerned with that because you have bus service that starts, and I used to work nights, and I've seen the buses coming in at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. But I do believe there should be somebody there in the morning when the buses start, because now you have a time frame of 9 to 3. No supervision from the time the buses start and then when the buses come back.
And the thought behind that was that we're trying to be as most cost effective as possible, but following up with your comment at the personnel committee meeting, they also agreed, and they had already had the 8 hour day placed on there as well. It's just both there so that we can talk about the cost options, but I agree with you as well.
Yep, and that would be in a motion when we actually go to hire somebody. So hopefully that would be in December. So
yeah. Today we're just going over job description.
Yeah, I thought the time, I'll add, that the time was up for discussion. I recall that the start time and the end time, or maybe setting a range and the clear expectation in the job description. I thought that it was like a 6 a.m. start or something to that effect, like you mentioned, Ron, that we had reviewed previously.
Yep.
So can you explain the difference in that gap and what was presented?
Mr. Cox brought the 2 different numbers and we'll discuss, the pros and cons of the 6 to 8 hour day. What we're looking at for motion is just the job description at this point, though.
So are we clear on that? That this is the employee job description that's in your packet, which does not include a salary or hours. This is just the job description.
So move, if you want to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So if there is a motion.
Are we voting on that now?
We're
or
voting
later?
on it now,
Yes.
yes. Mr. Mazurik motioned it on the floor.
Second.
Okay. Missouri,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes?
Weissel,
Yes.
Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
and Pappas.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will be tabling item B1 this time. And we'll be looking for a motion to approve Public Act 960266 as presented in your packet.
And I have, again, a couple corrections.
Ah, okay.
All right, and if you're looking at the copies that I gave you, I guess the 0266 is first. So for Mr. Cox, that would be 151,859.15. That is his compensation for FY20. And then on the 960434, base salary of 149,128.40, with the other forms of compensation being 2730.75, which is the 5 days of vacation pay that he received at that time. So that is part of his contract.
So that 4,809.73 is not.
Take that off and put
Okay.
2730.75.
Okay. So that cleared up all mine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And it was 151.9.
151,859.15.
Oh, okay, that's correct.
And these have to be posted on the website, so they will go on the website tomorrow after approval tonight.
Okay, I need a motion to approve Public Act 960266.
So move.
Second.
Okay, Weissel,
Yes.
Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes,
motion carried.
need a motion to approve Public Act 96-0434 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Sorry.
Okay, Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes,
Weissel,
Yes.
motion carried.
thank you. And for the audience, these were annual compensation reports that are required to be motioned and published. All right, Mr. Cox, the 2020 tentative levy.
Yeah, so all I did basically was took last year's extension. The current CPI is somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.4%. That's what's going to really regulate what the levy looks like, because it's going to be far outpaced by the increase in the EAV. The projected EAV increase is going to be 6 or 7%, and so multiplying all of those last year's numbers by between 1.4 and 2%, and then the limiter will kick in and be 1.4. What that will do then, again, because the EAV is outpacing our tax rate, will continue to drive the tax rate down. So projecting that tax rate, which currently sits at 647, should be driven down by about somewhere between 7 and 10 cents. That's even with the fact that our bond debt payment is going to grow by another $100,000. And so last year, our bond payment was 2.1 million, this year it's 2.2. And so all of that is a good thing.
And you said the projected EVA is, or EAV is going to be what?
The EAV should grow between 6 and 7%.
So I got the impression from the last meeting.
I would-
All right, go ahead. That this wasn't, we didn't have to vote on the tentative levy.
You know,
Okay, I'd rather table it then. Till it gets through.
Mayor was gonna propose we could table it to the finance committee, since it wasn't presented prior to the board meeting today.
Individual meeting.
All right. And
Do you want me to make that motion, Larry?
yes, please.
All right, we can make a motion to table the tentative tax levy approval to the finance committee.
I second it.
Okay, Hernandez,
Yes.
Pappas,
No.
Missouri,
No.
Herman,
No.
Weissel,
Yes.
and Duchess.
Yes.
It will
It's a
be,
tie.
So it doesn't carry. Right.
does not carry.
Motion doesn't carry.
All right, so I need a motion to approve the 2020 tentative tax levy as presented.
So move.
Second.
Well, I thought the motion, oh, never mind, sorry.
Now it's to approve.
All right.
Table law, right?
Right, yeah, well, tie, so.
It's a tie, so it wouldn't be,
Okay.
right.
All right, so we'll try again. Pappas,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes?
Weissel,
No.
Duchess,
No.
and Hernandez.
No.
So every year we go out for snow bids and we make sure that we gather information from the community. And this year we had two companies submit proposals. They're basically identical. One group is out of, I think, Mantino, and the other is across the street. I think in the most technical of sense, I think the group from Mantino is probably, at the end of the day, probably going to be, in the course of a winter, about $50 cheaper when you do the math. My recommendation, Mr. Stanula's recommendation, is that, like we did last year, and we've done probably 3/4 of the last 20 years, we use Lang. They are very responsive, and since this would not be an expenditure that would reach the $25,000 threshold, bidding requirements do not apply, and if the board would like to go with the firm that's going to be probably in the neighborhood of $50 or $60 for the whole winter, more expensive, then they have the right to do that. So that's my recommendation.
This is the one you used last year, right, Lane?
Yep.
And can you tell us how you felt like that went?
I think they did a great job. I think they were super responsive. I think that the vast majority of the complaints and issues that we had from 2 years ago all disappeared.
As long as we don't see admin or paras shoveling, I'm happy.
Yeah, I don't
And of
care.
course, stay with local.
Either way, but I'm a firm believer, I understand you have to bid things out, But you know what? I've been on this board long enough to realize that sometimes one bid is out there, then this bid. Why not bid it? I just don't understand it. And you know, I'll do it till the next 2 years while I'm still on this board.
No, we did bid it.
No.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
It's just in general that we always get one bid, two bids. Where was it bidded at? Where was it? Was it in the newspaper? You said you didn't have to bid.
Yeah, I think we advertised in the Kankakee paper, is that right, Marla? Yeah. Yeah, and so it wasn't just a word of mouth, we literally advertised, we spent school dollars to try to solicit.
Did we place it on our district website?
I don't believe so, I don't believe we typically do that.
Okay.
But all these contractors, they know that's where to look.
I feel okay about.
Can you explain, did it go through the facilities committee?
It didn't last year. I mean,
Yes, it did. I remember sitting there. Yes, I do.
I don't remember this being in facilities committee last year.
Oh, I remember sitting there in your mind.
The answer to your question is no.
I think it should have been reviewed by that team, no? Other thoughts?
Do you have thoughts, Mr.
No,
Hernandez?
I don't think so.
You're the chairman.
I don't think so. I think it hasn't before, and I don't think it should change
Juan's the
now.
chairman.
Mr. Hernandez?
Did, Mr. Cox, did you say that it did not meet the threshold anyway
That is correct.
of the contract amount? So then it doesn't have to go through committee, right? Or does it have to?
It doesn't have to. I don't recall if it did last year, but I don't ever remember spending committee time talking about this. It was always something that was brought immediately to the full board.
I personally thought it probably should have gone through committee, but I'm okay with what the board decides.
Then I'll put it up for a motion to approve the snow removal
I'll
bid.
just say before I think I'm okay, I feel okay with going with Lang. Again, if we used them last year, I think we had some problems the year before, and if it felt like it went pretty well, they
a
were
different company.
responsive. Bill, we should probably do that. So I'm fine. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's good that and Mr. Stanula's recommendation was for Lang as well, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
That's what, yeah.
I'll motion to approve Lang as the snow removal company.
Second.
Okay, Missouri,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Weissel,
Yes.
Duchess,
Yeah.
Hernandez,
Yes.
and Pappas.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Is
I
there
have a
any?
question for the board, Mr. Herman. So when we tabled that, did we table the employment, and we didn't vote on that? So is that something we should usually vote on then too?
There was some further information that we're not ready to bring that one to the board.
So do we need to make a motion to table it to another agenda item or a future agenda item?
No, just because it's on an agenda doesn't necessarily mean that it will or will not get voted on.
Okay.
Any other items before we go to executive?
Nope.
I need a motion to go to executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Missouri,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes?
Weissel,
Yes.
Duchess,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Pappas.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. We're moving to executive.
And I assume it's just for negotiations.
Yeah. Yep. As far as I know.
Thanks for being here, Mike.
Hey, Mike, do you have that piece of paper?
Goodbye.
Do you, Mr. Beck?
I was gonna
Okay,
ask.
it's all good.
I was like.
Never mind. It just in case there's questions on transportation.